Welcome, listener, in the shadows. We bring stories into the light. Join me as we explore the encounters no one speaks of and the things that watch from the dark. You were never supposed to see this, but since you have, you might as well wear it. From the vaults of the shadows, a new collection of unsettling apparel and artifacts pulled straight from the stories that were never meant to surface. Soft, worn-in shirts and hoodies that feel like something you dug out of a locked trunk in an abandoned ranger station. This isn't just merch, it's evidence. If you haven't already, go back and watch part 1 of this eerie tale, chapter 8. The breath of the land. Caleb's heart pounds in his chest. His eyes snap from the notebook to the window. The figure in the yard hasn't moved, at least not in any way that he can see, but he feels its presence. It's as if the thing isn't just standing there, it's waiting, somehow waiting for something. The moonlight casts pale shadows on the yard, but the creature is darker than the night itself. Its outline is faint, but its presence feels like it's all around him. He blinks, rubs his eyes, but when he looks again, it's still there. Standing stock still, like an unnatural part of the landscape, a shadow that doesn't belong. His breath hitches in his throat. The window rattles. Caleb takes a step back, heart racing. The scratching, that same sound from the previous nights, that deep, gnawing scrape against the wood, echoes from outside. It's closer now, louder, as if the thing knows it's been spotted. But now the sound isn't just at the window. It's coming from the door, from the roof, from the floorboards beneath his feet. It feels like the entire house is breathing. He picks up the camera and starts filming, though his hand shakes so violently that the lens wavers with each movement. Caleb wants to look away, but something compels him to stare. Something deep inside his gut tells him that whatever this is, this thing, isn't just waiting for him. It's waiting for the right moment, the right time. He stumbles toward the door, the camera still rolling, and peeks out through the blinds. The creature is still there, unmoving, but now its form seems less like a shadow and more like a presence. He can make out its grotesque outline, long limbs bent at the wrong angles, too long, too thin. The head is an empty void, a pit where eyes should have been. The air around it vibrates with a cold hum, and the scent of decay fills his nostrils. Caleb's stomach churns. He knows what he has to do. He has to get outside. He has to see it for himself, not through the lens of a camera, not from behind a window. He needs to understand what he's dealing with, needs to confront it. Before he can make a move, the wind picks up. The door shakes with a sudden force, rattling on its hinges. Caleb freezes, the hairs on the back of his neck rising. Then the air grows thick. The creature's presence suddenly intensifies, and Caleb feels an overwhelming pressure on his chest, as if the weight of the earth itself is bearing down on him. The wind howls, but the sound is muffled, as if it's being sucked into the ground. It knows I'm here. His mind screams at him to run, but his feet feel glued to the floor. A low, almost guttural voice, but not from the creature. Not from anything human, whispers from somewhere inside him, somewhere deep, unreachable. The land speaks to me. It tells me to watch, to wait, to take. The words are faint, like a half-remembered dream, but they make sense. They align with everything his father wrote in the notebook. Caleb remembers the strange phrases his father had scribbled, all the cryptic warnings, and a horrifying realization takes root. This isn't just a creature, it's something older, something tied to the earth itself, to this land. The scratching grows louder. It's at the door now, and this time it isn't just scraping. It's a pounding, a battering that feels like it's coming from inside his head, not just the wood. He slams the camera down on the counter, grabs the nearest flashlight, and bolting for the door, he doesn't think, doesn't plan, just reacts. When Caleb opens the door, he's met with nothing but the cold, empty night and the sound of that bone-chilling scratching, as if it's now inside his mind. And then, as if responding to his presence, the ground beneath him shifts. The earth trembles, and the silhouette of the creature begins to move. It's no longer standing still. Now it slithers, not walking, but gliding on all fours with unnatural, jerky movements that defy gravity. The air becomes thick with the stench of rot, and Caleb can feel it. The weight of its presence, the deep hunger that radiates off of it. The wind begins to howl louder, as if the creature's every move is pulling the very life force from the land around it. The branches of the trees bend unnaturally, groaning as if something's tugging at them from below the earth. Caleb is frozen in place. He can't move, can't scream. It's not just a cryptid, it's something more, something that's been here before. Something ancient, old as the hills and the land itself. It's tied to this place, to the blood in the soil, to the bones buried deep in the earth. And it's waiting for Caleb, waiting to take him, to make him part of the land, to consume him as it's consumed so many others. With a final, hollow rasp, the creature hisses from the dark, its voice trailing through the trees like a cold whisper. You're not the first. You won't be the last. And Caleb, his body frozen in place, realizes the truth. He's not just dealing with a creature, he's dealing with the land itself. And the land, it remembers. Chapter 9. The land remembers. The ground shifts again, this time more violently. Caleb feels the earth tremble beneath his boots, as if the very soil is waking up. The trees creak and groan in the wind, their gnarled branches twisting toward the sky, as though trying to escape the grip of something darker beneath. And the creature, that thing with its hollow, shifting form, moves toward him, slowly, deliberately. Every inch it moves makes the air heavier, more suffocating. Caleb's chest tightens. He should run. He knows he should run. But his legs won't cooperate. Fear has him rooted to the spot like the trees surrounding him. His breath comes in ragged gasps as he stares into the void of the creature's head, that inky blackness where eyes should be. He wants to scream, but the sound dies in his throat, smothered by the weight of the air around him. And then, through the deafening silence that follows the storm of emotions in his mind, he hears it, a whisper, a voice, like a memory long forgotten. The voice is deep, guttural, and the words feel like they're being carved into his mind with a sharp blade. It's always been here, always waiting, for the right one, for you. Caleb's mind reels. The words make no sense, but something primal deep within him recognizes their truth. His father's warnings, the way the house had always felt wrong, the whispers in the night, the way his father had been obsessed with this place. It all begins to fall into place in the darkest corners of his mind. He remembers the old, tattered journal his father had kept, the one with notes on creatures and entities, on myths and cryptids, all of it interwoven with cryptic warnings about the land itself. Warnings Caleb never thought he'd have to understand. And now, standing on this cursed ground, he finally gets it. This creature, this Wendigo-like being, isn't just a predator. It's not just a creature from the woods. It's a force of nature. It is the land manifested, an ancient, bloodthirsty entity that has lived for centuries, perhaps millennia. It is a thing of hunger, of consumption. And it doesn't just want to feed on the living. It wants to pull them into the earth, to make them part of it, to add them to the endless cycle of decay. The ground beneath him shifts again, and Caleb stumbles backward. His foot falls into something soft, and when he looks down, he sees it. A patch of earth that seems to be moving. Roots, tendrils. He tries to pull his foot out, but the soil holds him fast, like something has grown into him, something older than time itself. The trees groan louder now, bending in unnatural ways, as if they're reaching out for him. His heartbeat quickens, but the creature is closer now, impossibly close, and Caleb can feel the air crackling with an ancient energy. He tries to pull away, but the earth around him shifts violently, as if trying to drag him down into the depths of the land. And then it speaks again. The creature, its voice more powerful now, reverberating through the trees and the earth itself. You cannot leave. You belong here, as they all did before you. The words wash over Caleb like ice-cold water, and for the first time since stepping into this nightmare, he feels the full weight of the curse on him. His eyes lock onto the creature, and he can feel its gaze, if it even has one, deep within his very soul. The creature doesn't need eyes to see. It doesn't need a mouth to speak. It knows. It remembers. And it knows that Caleb, like his father before him, is now one of them. The ground beneath Caleb shifts again, and suddenly the tendrils release their hold. He stumbles backward, falling hard to the ground, his hand scraping against the earth as the creature lets out a deafening screech that reverberates through his bones. His vision blurs, and for a moment he thinks he's going to pass out. But as he shakes his head to clear it, the creature vanishes, as if it was never there. The air feels thinner now, colder, and the world around him becomes quieter, too quiet. The trees, the ground, everything seems still, as though holding its breath. Caleb's heart is hammering in his chest, but the silence is the worst part of all. It's like the world is waiting. Then a sound pierces the silence, the unmistakable sound of footsteps. He stands shakily and turns toward the sound. It's not just the wind anymore, it's movement, heavy, slow steps. And with every step, the ground shakes just slightly, as if something large is walking just out of sight. But when Caleb looks around, there's nothing there. The creature is gone for now, the silence returns, but Caleb doesn't feel safe, because he knows now, the land is watching him, and it will never let him leave. It's not just the Wendigo, it's something older, something that has always been here, beneath the soil, beneath the trees. It doesn't care about time, it doesn't care about people, it just waits patiently for someone to find it. And Caleb has found it, but there's no leaving, not anymore. Chapter 10. The eyes in the grain. The farmhouse was quiet when Caleb returned, too quiet. The wind had stopped. The crickets were silent. Even the cicadas, which had chirred relentlessly the last few nights, had gone still. The air tasted stale, like dust sealed in a tomb. He stepped through the front door and locked it behind him out of habit, though something in his gut told him it wouldn't matter anymore. He had tried, with shaking hands, to retrieve the SD cards from his trail cameras, hoping the footage might explain or validate what he'd seen. But the moment he had reached for the card slot, the screen went dark, as if something had killed the power at that exact moment. All of the batteries were drained, not just low, empty, as though the very energy had been drunk from them. Caleb now sat at the kitchen table, the flickering light of a kerosene lamp casting warped shadows across the walls. The photos he'd found in his father's shoebox lay spread in front of him. Family portraits, blurred images of the land, and one in particular that now chilled him more than any creature ever could. It was of his father, standing beside the old shed, young, maybe 20, smiling. But in the background, just behind the nearest pine, was something tall, blurred but visible. At first glance it could be mistaken for a person, but its head was too high, its shoulders too narrow, and its posture not quite right. Caleb stared at it for an hour before realizing what truly made his blood run cold. Its antlers were identical to the ones he'd dreamed of. The same branching, bark-coated horns. The same curvature, like trees grown in pain. And the figure, even in its obscured form, was turned slightly, not toward the shed or his father, but toward the camera, toward the viewer, toward him. Caleb exhaled shakily and set the photo down. In the silence, a distant noise, subtle but clear, broke through the stillness. Grain shifting in the silo. He hadn't been inside it since he'd arrived. There was no reason to. The farm hadn't stored grain in years. His father had stopped using it before Caleb was born. But now, the sound was unmistakable. The slow slide of grain shifting and settling, as if something was moving through it. Caleb grabbed the flashlight and his father's old hunting knife. He didn't know what he expected to do with either. The walk to the silo felt longer than it should have. The flashlight's beam cut through the dark like a needle, jittering with his every footstep. The silo loomed like a moonlit tomb, steel walls cold and glinting. The door was unlatched. Inside, the air was musty, thick with decay and mold. He swung the beam of light across the walls and up the ladder rungs, half expecting to see something perched above him. But there was nothing. Then the grain shifted again. He turned quickly, flashlight searching the piled, dry kernels, and froze. Something was inside. The grain was moving subtly, like something just beneath the surface was breathing. And then eyes. Just two, glinting, not glowing, just reflecting the light in a way that felt wrong. Wide, far apart, low to the ground, like a creature that shouldn't be making eye contact from that height. The beam flickered as Caleb stumbled backward, heart hammering. The eyes vanished. The grain swelled slightly, shifting like a body rolling beneath a blanket. Then silence again. He slammed the door shut and drove a rusted pipe through the latch to lock it tight. When he got back to the house, something had changed. The back door was open. He hadn't left it open. And in the center of the kitchen floor, between the spread-out photos, lay something that hadn't been there before, a deer skull. Clean, polished, antlers long and sharp. And beneath it, clawed into the wood floor with long, deliberate strokes, were words, deep gouges that seemed to hum with some cold, ancient awareness. You look too long. Chapter 11. The salt line Caleb didn't sleep. He sat in the front room with the old shotgun resting across his lap, the deer skull still lying where it had been left, centered on the floor like some ceremonial gift. He hadn't touched it. He didn't want to touch it. Every fiber of his body told him that if he laid hands on it, something would change, something irreversible. The words carved into the floor still stared up at him. You looked too long. He should have packed his things, left, driven until the gas ran dry. But instead, he did what his father would have done. He fortified. He dragged every piece of furniture he could find against the doors and windows, poured lines of salt across the thresholds, even lit candles, not because he believed they'd help, but because darkness now felt opportunistic, like something was always watching from the moment the lights went out. He found his father's journal again, buried under a false drawer in the bedroom dresser, hidden with care. There were only a few entries, scattered across years, each one more cryptic than the last. June 3rd, 1998. It's still out there, still watching. No footprints, but the deer keep avoiding the Southfield. That's how you know. August 11th, 2003. Heard it behind the shed again, staring, breathing like it has no lungs. December 9th, 2012. I left out meat, not to feed it, but to distract it. There's a difference. March 17th, 2017. It doesn't walk, it arrives, like a thought. The last entry was dated 3 months before Caleb's father went missing. April 1st, 2019. I saw it in the mirror, but it wasn't copying me. It was waiting for me to move first. Caleb shut the book and ran his hands over his face. The candlelight flickered. Then the back window cracked. Not shattered, cracked like something had tapped it. He rose slowly, shotgun gripped tight, and stepped closer. He didn't part the curtain. He knew better now. He waited. The tapping came again, not frantic, rhythmic, like fingers, like speech. He stood frozen, counting each beat. 4 taps, pause, 2 taps, pause, 4 again. Morse code. He scribbled it down. When he translated it, his stomach turned. Behind, Caleb spun. Nothing, just the kitchen flickering in the candlelight, the salt line still intact, the furniture unmoved, but the deer skull was gone. He didn't hear it taken, didn't see it moved. It just wasn't there anymore. Then the smell hit him. Rot, damp fur, earth, wet, rotting earth. Something had come in anyway. He backed toward the hallway, shotgun shaking, heart galloping. A whisper trailed down the hallway behind him. A word he didn't understand. Not English, not language. A sound that felt translated inside his skull, like it meant something, but the meaning didn't come from his ears. And then the scratching began. Not at the walls, not at the windows, from beneath the floorboards. Chapter 12. Beneath the house, the scratching didn't stop. It traveled left to right, slow, purposeful, curious. Not like an animal searching for a way out, but like something already inside looking for the weakest part of the structure. Caleb didn't sleep that night. He stayed on the couch, shotgun across his lap, waiting for the sun to rise and burn the nightmare away. But when morning came, it didn't bring clarity. The salt lines hadn't been broken. The windows were still locked. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, yet the scratching had been real. He'd recorded it, played it back. Low, rhythmic, intentional, not random, not panic. And worst of all, it responded when he knocked back. Something was under the floor, and whatever it was, he knew. That afternoon, Caleb tore up half the living room floorboards with a crowbar. The crawl space beneath the house was dry, dusty, and undisturbed, at least at first glance. But as he shined his flashlight around the perimeter, he saw smudges. Dark marks pressed into the dirt. Long streaks where the soil had been pushed aside as something had moved through on its belly. And farther back, almost hidden beneath a joist, he found something worse than footprints. He found scratches. 5 long grooves carved into the wooden beam, like something had clawed upward from the dirt toward the floor above. The marks weren't wild or panicked. They were even, straight, almost ceremonial. like someone carving notches in a tree, a warning or a tally. Caleb backed out slowly and sealed the crawl space shut, but he knew it didn't matter. The house was already compromised. The land was compromised. He thought about his father's words again. It doesn't walk. It arrives. That night the scratching started again. This time it circled the house. He stood at the kitchen window, shotgun ready, phone, flashlight off. His breath fogged the glass. Outside, the tall grass moved, not from wind, from something crawling through it. No eyes, no silhouette, just the motion, low and wide like a dragging body. Then it paused and the field went still. The scratching started again, now at the front door, but when he approached, nothing. The moment he stepped away, it started at the back door. It was toying with him. It wanted to be heard. It wanted him to know it was there. He opened the journal one more time, flipping to the back page. There, in a different kind of ink, red, smeared, almost like it was finger-drawn, was a single phrase his father had never dared to write before. You can only see it once you stop trying not to. And Caleb finally understood. It had never wanted to stay hidden. It had been waiting for the right kind of attention. The kind born from sleepless nights, fear-fed obsession, and open invitation. So he sat in the center of the room, candles lit, salt brushed aside, and he waited. Chapter 13, the listening place he didn't fall asleep. Caleb hadn't slept in 2 days, not in any meaningful way. His brain ran on adrenaline and fear, twitching at every sound, every shift in the air. But as the sky blackened beyond the windows and the world shrank to candlelight, something in him changed. The fear wasn't gone, it had simply become expectation. It would come tonight. He knew that. What he didn't know was why he was no longer afraid of it. At 3:19 a.m. the first sound came, not scratching this time, not crawling. A knock, single, heavy, measured. It came from the wall behind him, the wall that shared no exterior surface. The interior wall, the one that faced the hallway to his father's old room. Caleb rose slowly. The shotgun was still on the couch. He didn't bring it. He lit another candle instead, carrying it down the hall. The house was silent again, like it had been waiting for him to rise before it moved forward. He reached the door at the end of the hall, his father's locked bedroom. Only now it wasn't locked. The door creaked open with a kind of deliberate slowness that made Caleb's chest tighten. Inside was dust, furniture covered in sheets, and the faint, rotten smell of something old and underground. He stepped inside. There at the foot of the bed was a trapdoor, a feature he had never seen before. A thing that had never been there before. The wood around it was damp. The latch was old, brass, and warm to the touch. He opened it. The ladder stretched downward longer than it should have. There were no lights, just soil walls and the slow cold of the earth wrapping around his breath. 27 steps. He counted them. And at the bottom he found a room, a perfect square, poured concrete, blank save for the old iron chair bolted to the center. The walls were covered in scratch marks, vertical, precise, as if someone had been making notes. And directly across from the ladder was a shape, a figure, not quite human, not quite animal. It stood maybe 9 feet tall, long-limbed and thin. Its face was draped in something that looked like a veil of dried skin, stretched over antlers that rose and branched like a dead tree in winter. It didn't breathe, it didn't move, but he could hear it, not with his ears, with something deeper, an awareness, a voice without language pressed directly into his chest. "You see now." Caleb staggered backward, but he didn't run, he couldn't. The fear was still there, but beneath it, beneath the primal instinct to scream, was a deeper feeling, recognition. This was what his father had protected him from. This was the thing that came to collect when bloodlines grew too quiet. A memory made flesh. And then it stepped forward, not with menace, not with hunger, but like a mirror rising. And Caleb finally fully understood. It had never been behind the shed. It had always been beneath the house, watching, learning. And now it had finally stood up. You made it back for now. But the things in the dark never truly leave, do they? They watch, they wait, and perhaps they remember you now too. If you want to hear more, if you dare to listen again, step back into the shadows. Like the video. Subscribe, but know this, some doors once opened do not close so easily.